All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. In the last video, I went back and basically got rid of the version 3 that I had. I'm keeping it, but I'm redoing it for lack of better words. And what I want to add now is I want to add what's referred to as a service layer. What's a service layer and why do you use a service layer? Well, I said, why create a service layer in a C# app? And now when we look at this, notice what it says. Creating a service layer in a C# app is a best practice for achieving maintainable, scalable, and testable architecture. Who cares? The next sentence is kind of the key here. It acts as an intermediary, encapsulating the business logic and coordinating the interactions between the presentation, which is your form, and the data access layer. All right, right now, the form is too powerful in this program, our employee manager form. So the key benefits of adding a service layer are shown here. We'll have a separation of concerns. Each layer will have a specific responsibility. This service layer will be responsible for handling the business rules. As it says, this keeps the code base organized and easier to understand. It provides for code reusability. So if we wanted to add things to this too, improve testability, it makes your program more flexible and maintainable. All right. And you can read the rest yourselves. But again, this is what we're going to put in here right now. What we want is a service layer that basically will answer the question of where should the business logic of our program live, so it's not inside of our form and it's not inside of our database code. All right. So basically what we've had in the past is our form doing everything, and that's the problem. The user interface then is tightly coupled to EFCore. The form is too powerful. It knows about DB context. It knows about our tables. It knows about our entity structure. If we change the database, what's going to happen is our program is going to break because the user interface will break. And that's kind of what you saw in the previous version 3 I had of this. We had a duplication of logic. If we had another form, if we, later we wanted to add another form for whatever reason, we'd repeat the save changes, the remove, etc. All right. And it would become hard to maintain what we're working on. We right now have no central place for our rules. Things like, our employee has to work a certain number of hours, etc. All right. Right now it's scattered across the forms, and that's not a good idea. With the service layer, the form will be doing more of the work. So you can kind of think of this service layer as, for lack of better words, a middle person. It'll talk to the database. It'll apply the business rules. It'll shield our user interface or our form from changes. It'll centralize our logic. All right. It'll give us that separation of concerns that we actually and truly need. All right. It'll make our program easier to maintain because things like save changes will only be in one place now. It'll make our code more usable. Later when we add our ASP.NET, a lot of stuff will be done for us. All right. It'll make it, again, going along with that, more future-proof. Today we're using a WinForms app. Tomorrow we hope to use ASP.NET. So the bottom line is this service layer will make our user interface, our form code, cleaner. It'll centralize the business rules in one place. It'll make it easier if we need to make changes later. It'll make our program reusable, and it's a more professional type of architecture. All right. So, I mean, when you look at it that way, it's doing a lot of good things, for lack of better words. All right. So let's close this. Let's go back to our program. And since we have basically been putting everything that we're working on in here in its own form, we have our DB context in here. You've already seen this. We've got our context factory in here. All right. We've got our two forms, which are going to end up changing over time. We've got our models. I'm going to get rid of this migrations because we're going to have a new database that we're going to create eventually. So let's just delete that. All right, we don't need that. In fact, over here, I've got this payroll database, the ASP. I can leave it, but it's not hurting anything, but we're going to make a new one anyway. All right, but we've got our models. We talked about that. Our forms we'll look at in a bit, but let's create another folder. So let's add a new folder, and let's call this folder Services. All right. And in this folder, in here, in fact, I'm going to close this right now. And let me just do a file save all and close this as well. I'm going to, I thought I had everything closed. I did not. There we go. So I'm going to come in here. Since this is an employee program, I could call it payroll service, but I'm just going to call it employee service. So I'm going to add a new class that I'm going to call employee service. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is now in the past, when we've done this, all right, when we've done this, we've made these public. I'm going to make this private. And I'm going to make it read-only. All right. In fact, let's not, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's not even do it like that. Let's come back in here. All right. I'm going to make this public. All right. So I'll have a public class called employee service. That's to start with. All right. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a private read-only payroll DB context that we're just going to call context. You often, when you do these, you often put an underscore in there. Now, it's not recognizing this, and that's because we'll need a using in here. Payroll, I'm sorry, try that again. Using PayrollEFCore03b-2 All right, doesn't like it right now. PayrollEFCore03b. So let's come in here. I don't know why it does this, but let's add a project reference. We don't need that one anymore. And that's okay. Why doesn't it like PayrollEFCore03b? Are you missing a directive? PayrollEFCore03b. And there is a models. This error is because of this error right here. Oh, it's 03b, I believe. There we go. Okay, well, that fixed one of the errors. All right, now we've got an error here. And it says this could not be found. So is that what we called it? Payroll DB context. All right, maybe we need data as well. So using PayrollEFCore03b.data. There we go. Now we're getting the underscore here, and we're getting the underscore. You should know this by now because it's not being used. All right. So let's add a constructor. It's going to be pretty simple. All right. And it's going to be public employee service. And we're going to be getting in that payroll DB context, well, we'll just call it context. And just like that. So we're going to set context equal to the context that gets passed in. All right. Now, what we're going to put in here are common things we want to do. So think about this. What are common things we want to do? One is we want to be able to list our employees. All right. We want to be able to add employees. We want to be able to update employees, and we want to be able to delete employees. In other words, this is going to hold our CRUD actions. Our CRUD actions will go here. All right. Now let's start with the equivalent. I'm just going to say list. It's kind of like list, which is kind of like read. All right. So we're going to say public list, and we're going to list what? An employee. And we're going to call this, I think we called it already, get all. All right. I'm just going to try this. I'm going to type in here, get employees. If we have to add it later, we'll add it later. String type. And that's going to be the employee type. All right. And we're going to put in here return underscore context dot employees underscore context dot employees. And for the first time, we're going to use a little bit of link where ef dot property string sting. Boy, oh boy, Jeffrey. Let's move this over. Okay. Where ef dot property string employee type equal type. Now, there's a problem here, and the problem is right there is a problem. That fixed that, but I still have an error here under EF. See if we can fix that in a second. But what I want to show you in here, at the end here, we want a .to list. All right. There we go. Whoops. Okay. Now, it still doesn't like something, so we have to fix it. But let's talk about what we have here. It says the name EF does not appear in here, which it does not. So ef.property string employee type equal type. So we're down to one error, and that is I've got to figure out what this problem is. What we're doing is we're writing a common function that's called get employees in here, which is going to list for us our employees. The idea behind this particular class is what we do not want to do here is we do not want to replicate code. So we're coming in and trying to find places where we can set it up so we're not replicating code. All right. So we've got in here, that looks good. Services. Yeah, that's fine. Public class employee service looks good. Private read only. DB context underscore context looks good. We've got our constructor. public employee service, payroll DB context, underscore context equal context. Good. We're going to put in our summary, or we're going to put in here our list, and I'm going to have to figure out what that problem is. It says that it does not exist. I get that it doesn't exist. So show potential. That might be it. We need using statement. Microsoft.Entity Framework core. All right. So what this says is list all employees of that type. So that was list. Next, let's do add. After that, we'll do update. And after that, we'll do delete. So we're not exactly doing these in order, but this one makes more sense to put first, in my opinion. So for add, we'll have public void. Where am I? Try that again. Public void add employee. What employee? We can call it employee. Let's just call it emp. It should be fine. All right. And we're going to say here, it's going to be real short. Underscore context dot employees dot add emp underscore context dot save changes. So notice now in one place we'll be able to call our add routine. We can call it regardless of an employee type. So again, we're not going to be replicating code. So let's do the next one. Public void update. And all we have to say in here is this line, the underscore context dot save changes. So let's copy that because it worked here. So let's copy that. Okay, so there's that one. Finally, we'll have the delete. So public void delete employee emp. All right. And we'll have underscore context dot employees dot remove that employee. And again, we'll do our save changes. That's it. So in this service layer, we now have a standard place in our code. I want to say this again. We now have a standard place in our code that is going to hold for us the ability to perform any of our CRUD applications. All right. Where am I time-wise? I'm at 19 minutes. I'm going to stop. It's a little bit earlier than I'd like to, but I'm going to stop right here. Now you'll notice I'm getting errors, but it's all right. It says done like something in here. Where is this? This is our employee manager. So what's the problem? I don't need this, but I do need this. That fixed that error. And I get a lot of errors in here. All right. This will now be commission employee. Okay. This is going to change a lot. That'll be salaried employee. This will be piece worker employee. This will be hourly employee. So I'm getting rid of the errors little by little here. See that? A lot of them are gone now. Now this migrations thing that's in here I don't need. It says for payroll DB context could not be found. This is our factory. Well, this will have to change to B. That'll fix that error. So you can see what I'm doing here is going through and hopefully at least trying to remove some of the errors that I have. Now you'll notice that even a lot of the warnings that I have are gone. And a lot of the ones that are left, this is BMI library. I do care about anything in PayrollEFCore03b. I do care about those. All right. Again, that'll have to be a B. And so will that. File, save all. Now that gave me a boatload of errors, so that probably wasn't a great thing to do. All right, I'm not worried about it right now, though. I really and truly am not. Yeah, this payroll program, but all those errors are going to go away in just a bit. All right, so these are all related, all these errors. So I'm not going to worry about them right now. I'm just going to stop